Hi everyone, I'm Ksenia and I'm talking about books with an accent. A couple of days ago, many countries celebrated such a date as March 8th, International Women's Day. And I thought it would be good to make a book selection on this occasion. So, the theme of my issue today is Girl Power, and I am going to talk about strong female characters in books. To be honest, the three first names that immediately came to my mind were Jane Eyre, Lizzie Bennet, and Scarlett O'Hara. A humble little governess with a sense of self-worth, a young lady that demonstrates independence of judgment and strength of character, and a bright beauty with a rather hard heart. She once made promise for herself: if I have to steal or kill, as God is my witness, I am never going to be hungry again. Never. The problem is you probably know all about them. So I chose other books and other characters. And first person I'm going to talk about is Dr. Susan Calvin. Susan Calvin is a brilliant female robot psychologist, a true character in many of Isaac Asimov's robot stories. She's smart, she's clever, she's rational woman. She always thinks about consequences of certain decisions. She can insist on her own way. Of course, she is not perfect because she's ultra rational, she's tough, she's cold, and I can easily say that she doesn't seem to like people at all. I think she could have easily said, the more I get to know people, the more I love robots. Something like that. And yes, working with Susan Calvin in real life would probably be a real horror, because you'd have to face the gravity of her character and the sharpness of her intellect at the same time. But to read stories about her, to read stories when she shows all the brilliance of her analytical skills, to read stories where she doesn't give up without trying always to solve a problem. Finally, to read stories where she is humanly vulnerable is a wonderful pastime. And yes, in general, I just love Asimov stories at all, especially when there is a mystery. What went wrong with that robot? But Susan's presence in the stories makes them even more enjoyable for me. Yes. That's all about Susan Calvin. Oh, one moment. My favorite tales with her are Feminine Intuition and Little Lost Robot. Yes. And let's move on to a more traditional character. This is Denise Baudu from Émile Zola's novel The Lady's Paradise. I can't say I really love Denise, but I wanted to include this book in my book selection. First, because of the title, and second, because of main character of the book. It's not Denise, this is not Denise really, or even a main male character, Octave Moret. Frankly speaking, the main character is a huge shopping center called The Lady's Paradise. And yes, the story begins around the 70s of 19th century. Poor orphan Denise arrives in Paris with her younger brothers. She hopes to find a shelter and work with her uncle, a small cloth merchant. But he can't really help her because his trade is ruined by a huge shopping store opened in the neighborhood. This is the lady's paradise. And when Denise herself gets a job as a sales girl in this store, and she goes through all the circles of hell for newcomers. She endures harsh work conditions, the whims of customers, the ridicule of experienced sales girls, and in short, she behaves like a saint. And along with Denise's story, the story of store itself and of its owner, the genius of commerce, Octave Moret, unfolds before us. And it turns out that the most tricks of the modern commerce were invented at least 200 years ago. There are such things as aggressive advertising, compliments to customers, commissions, attractive merchandise display. What else? Oh, yes, store layouts. So you can't simply go to the shop and find everything you need in the same place. No, you have to wander around and to bump your eyes on something that you don't actually need but looks so tempting. And yes, the whole store is presented as a huge mechanism that absorbs everything and everyone: goods, sellers, customers. Something like a true idol of consumerism. And yes, The Lady's Paradise is a Cinderella story, of course, but there are some nuances. First, Denise is not a beauty. Second, 7 years passes from the beginning of the book to its happy ending. So during these years, Denise goes from a timid girl to a woman with dignity and character. So there is a chance that the main male character recognized and sincerely loved Denise. And let's go to the last character. This is Sasha Samokhina from fantasy novel Vita Nostra, written by Ukrainian authors Marina and Sergei Dikchenko. And I know for sure that the book was translated into English. So you have every chance to read it. And I highly recommend to do it because it's not for the sake of a beautiful, strong Sasha. No, it's for the sake of the atmosphere of the book. But please don't believe the marketing that calls this book a dark version of Harry Potter. This is not true. The book has features of a buildings roman. There are some magical school tropes there, and with reservations we can call this book a magical realism somewhere in the post-Soviet space. But that's not all that is in that book. A little about plot. Sasha is 16 years old and she is an average sort of girl. She is a diligent student from her graduating class. She is raised by her mother and the family lives modestly. But everything suddenly changes when Sasha receives an offer that's impossible to refuse. She needs to attend the Institute of Special Technologies and she must study very well. Otherwise, it will be very, very bad for her and for her family. So students are forced to learn something incredibly difficult. One moment, I try to say incomprehensible, yes, and frightening. And these exercises change students. So students, little by little, became more than just people. And Sasha gradually reveals to us as a smart, talented, stubborn girl. She endures incredible stress. She tries to protect her family, but at the same time she rebels against the imposed rules of the institute. At times she is reckless and cruel. She loves but cannot forgive. But she is whole person and she doesn't give up. And I love her very much. Yes. Okay, folks, that's all what I want to say about the girl power books, about strong female characters. Give me a like if you liked my video and see you soon.